Yo, what's good with y'all? It's your boy Nick, and welcome back to another day of Reactionmas. Today we are reacting to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's Evolution Has to Be Studied. Let's explain to it.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to go down as one of the best scorers in NBA history, but jumping back to 2019, he was involved in a very lopsided trade to say the least, where the Clippers received Paul George from OKC, and in return the Thunder got SGA, Danilo Gallinari, freaking 5 first-round picks.
That's one of the craziest trades in NBA history. They traded 5 first-round picks, and also OKC got really lucky. For sure that Shai turned out to be the superstar that he is. Then also the Clippers, like, I understand Paul George was at MVP level before they traded for him. Five firsts is crazy.
And 2 first-round pick swaps. Obviously, in hindsight, the haul of picks that OKC got was pretty ridiculous. But while all this movement was happening, Shai was kind of an afterthought. Sure, he was a talented rookie, but at the same time, I don't think anybody saw him turning into literally the best scorer in the NBA. So exactly how good was Shai in his rookie year? And how did he turn himself into an MVP caliber player? Now, when looking back at Shai's first season, he was very active, played in all 82 games, started in 73, while averaging over 26 minutes per night. The scoring volume and efficiency wasn't that impressive yet, but it does say a lot when he was getting consistent playing time on a night-to-night basis. And in the playoffs that year, he started and played in all 6 games against peak Golden State. Now, despite Shai getting some playing time and having trust from the coaching staff, I do think this version of his game had a lot of issues. First, Shai has never been a super explosive above the rim athlete, and that combined with him having an underdeveloped 20-year-old frame really limited his effectiveness as an off-the-dribble slasher.
Alexander drives, gets inside, layup won't go.
First, Shai had a really hard time absorbing contact and holding his driving line. It was easy for the defense to get into his body and push him out into tougher finishes. And that lack of strength combined with him not having a lot of lift in the paint really handicapped his scoring around the basket. He did have the handle and burst to beat the first line of defense, but around the rim for him it was really tough. And at the same time, Shai's skills and reads were also a step behind, which is normally the case for any rookie guard. He had a hard time reading the second line of defense, while also pulling out the wrong moves in certain spots. In transition here, look how he's going to pick up and hit a right-left euro, but he steps right into Steph and exposes the ball. Now, at the same time, there were some positive signs in Shai's game. The first thing to me that stood out was how aggressive he was. While being a rookie in a playoff setting, he was in non-stop attack mode. The results weren't always super positive, but I think having that kind of mindset in a high-stress environment is a big deal. And from a skill standpoint, Shai always had really good patience in the lane, and in spots, this was enough to make up for his lack of strength and lift. He was very good at finding finishing windows by playing off 2 feet, by either pulling the defense out of position by slamming the brakes.
Like, he improved on his footwork, and then also, like, he got stronger for real. Like, he's able to get to spots more easier than what he was in his rookie year, for sure.
Or kind of altering his speed into his layups. This move here is slick, where he's first going to hit this push cross towards the middle, and he's going to casually pick up the ball off 2 feet in the lane, to then sneak through this inside hand finish. And playing off 2 feet like this also allowed him to alter his flight path to the basket. He's attacking across the paint to his right here, but watch him again pick up on 2 and float past Cousins back to his left. And Shai also had that same patience to his game off the bounce. This is a simple change of pace move, where off the screen, he's going to lift up his chest and turn his head. And when he feels an open space, he's going to drop back down into his drive. And again, while this version of Shai wasn't a top tier athlete, he still had a really good way of covering ground on the floor. This is a high pickup just 1 step below the 3. And from here, he can extend to the rim with 2 long strides. So as an off-the-dribble slasher in his rookie year, I would say Shai was pretty good. For being just 20, he already had a good foundation of skill. But again, because of that lack of strength and explosiveness, it was hard to picture him developing into one of the better paint scorers across the league. Now, when jumping ahead just 2 years to his 2021 season with OKC, this is where we begin to see some legit improvements with his strength and control in the lane, by both initiating contact more in the paint, plus seeking out that confrontation early into his drives. As he turns the corner off the screen to his right, look who's going to push the ball across to his left, to then get into the defense's body right at the elbow, and he carves out this lane all the way to the basket. And with an additional 2 years of experience, Shai was also a lot more comfortable dealing with traffic in the paint. As opposed to gathering and forcing up finishes, he was much better at—
like, you could tell from these highlights that he looked more comfortable. Like, he's flowing more with the game compared to his first year. Like, I said 2 years in, yeah, he's flowing way better.
Either using his strides to find a different angle, using his touch to float the ball over the backline defense, or pull the defense out of position with his deceleration. And at this point, Shai was already a really tough one-on-one matchup on the perimeter. The pace, ball control, and footwork was already elite. And if you left him out on an island with any mismatch, it was going to be a guaranteed blow-by.
Oh, what a stutter step, SGA inside.
Now, even with all these improvements, Shai was still just 22, so a lot of those issues that we saw in his rookie year were still bleeding over into his third season. Physical defenders could still have their way with him, and the reads in traffic still had to be sharpened up. Again, like we saw with LA, he was prone to quick gathers and rushing up finishes. Even if he initially created a good angle, he would often force up that pickup and lose position. But when jumping ahead another 2 years, this is when I think Shai really became Shai. He was averaging over 31 points per game while making all NBA first team. OKC may have gotten bounced out in the play-in, but this was the year where Chet was hurt, and J-Dub was just a rookie. I think this year Shai was already a top 5 player in the NBA, but his team just hadn't caught up yet.
Alexander, the move, the drive, shot is good.
Now, during the 2023 season, I think a strong case could be made that Shai was the best slasher in the NBA. He was averaging 10.7 points per game around the basket, which was the most for all guards and wings. And this was when he really began to put everything together. Again, he had the ball skills and footwork to cook anybody in open space. But more importantly, his reads and traffic were super sharp. By always being aware of where the help is and knowing where the soft spots are on the floor, he's going to read DeAndre Ayton here sitting below the nail. So it's just a between blow by back to his right. This is also the year where Shai's strength went up to the next level. Like we saw, he's always been great at using that handle to get the defense on his hip. But once he created that advantage, you weren't getting him off his line. The Suns' defense here is going to build up a wall, but Shai is just going to lower his shoulder and take this north to south angle to slice through. This was also the year where I think Shai developed that next level of patience in the fire. His ability to be calm in traffic is what really makes up for him not being an above the rim play finisher. He's always on balance, reading the floor, and feeling angles. And wherever he has to go, he's always comfortable. He can spin over both shoulders, finish right and left, and again, that improved stability always allows him to be on balance. So this year, as an off-the-dribble slasher, SGA checked all the boxes. He's got the handle to beat the first line defense.
You see the pattern on, like, some of the, like, he's gotten more physical, I feel like, this year, because he's drawn more fouls and everything. And then he's found his way to be able to draw fouls and found what the refs see. Like, see what the refs see as a foul or whatever. So that's how he's able to get to the line so much and all that. So he's just using that to his advantage. Like, just being more physical to try to get to the line.
The strength to both hold and carve out driving angles, and in traffic he was always present and reading the defense, and whatever teams threw at him, he had a counter. Now, this 2023 season was also the time where Shai's free throws took a big jump, where he was getting to the line just under 11 times per game. And no matter how you want to slice it, this did contribute a lot to his big up in scoring. I've done a couple of videos where I really dive into how SGA draws fouls and whether or not it's actually authentic. But to quickly sum it up, I feel like a vast majority of the whistles that he gets is by him being aggressive and forcing the defense out of position. Because of that first step and handle, he routinely gets his man on his hip, and they often try to fight through his body to get themselves back in front. And this does lead to pretty clear fouls with the defense swiping through his body and arms. There are times where he forces the issue with these upward swipes and gathers, but in general, Shai is a very aggressive off the dribble scorer, and over the past 3 years, he's consistently been in the top 3 for drives per game, so naturally, that's going to lead to a lot of calls. Obviously, there are some whistles that do kind of bail him out, but at the same time, I do think a vast majority
like that call right there,
whistles that do kind of bail him out, but at the same time,
like that's not a foul right there. Like the refs do that a lot, but you see the ref that called it though. He's standing right here, so from his angle, he's jumping into him, and so it looked like a foul, but it's not really a foul though. But that comes with how Shai plays. Like he's gonna bait you into doing all that. So that's how he gets all those calls or whatever. Like he's gonna pump fake, then he's gonna jump into you, and then the ref's gonna blow the whistle because from their angle they can't see that you just got your hands up and he jumped into you.
I do think a vast majority of the calls that he gets comes from him playing aggressive and physical. So when looking back at Shai's paint scoring from his rookie year, it is kind of wild how he turned himself into one of the best drivers in the league. Obviously at age 20 he did have some good tools, but because of his lack of strength and explosiveness, it was going to most likely be an uphill battle for him going forward. And anybody who says that they knew he was going to be this good around the basket by 2023 and beyond is most likely full of crap. But to his credit, Shai did develop all the things that he had to. He got a lot stronger, added a ridiculous amount of counters to his game off the dribble and in the paint, while turning himself into one of the most fluid and calm players in the league. Now, like we all know, Shai's scoring also extends outside the paint, and the development of this part of his game, I think, is the most interesting. Now, jumping back to his rookie year, Shai did have some decent volume in the mid-range, but these were mostly looks that the defense gave him, where they were just backing off and letting him dribble into dead space. And because the three-point volume wasn't really there yet, I think some teams assumed that he was just a non-shooter. But even at this point, I think Shai had really good touch from 17 feet and under. And then a lot of the tools that we see SGA use today were also very prevalent in his game back then. He had the control to stop on a dime and turn out into jumpers, put together quick combos off the dribble and flow into a step back, plus attack the defense's body with those shoulder bumps. He's going at a prime Draymond Green here, and because his stance is opened up trying to head off his drive, Shai has the leverage to bump him off his base and separate. Now again, jumping ahead 2 years, this is when Shai got a lot more comfortable weaponizing that driving threat to create space, where again that quick burst off the dribble calmly got the defense out of position, and Shai could use that leverage to bump and separate. And with these moves, it's not that Shai was super strong, but more that he had perfect timing. As soon as he feels the defense moving and off balance, that little bump does a lot to move them out of position. At this time, Shai was also developing really good patience. In isolation, he would often turn his back and initiate these mini post-ups, where he could just feel the defense and turn out into open looks. Or off the bounce, if his initial drive got walled off, he also had the poise to keep his dribble alive and transition into a different move. Now, if I had to nitpick Shai's third year, I do think his strength still had some room for improvement. While he already had a variety of ways to create separation, lots of the shots that he was taking were still falling short. And this again is a stability thing. This is a really good move here, where he's first going to hesitate behind the line to then drop back down into a drive. And from here, it's right back to initiating contact and bumping out. But while he creates a ton of space, the lift isn't great and the shot falls short. Now, when jumping ahead even further to his 2023 season, this to me is the first year where he really put everything together, from the pace, strength, footwork, and shot making. And the thing is,
He just got comfortable though. Like he got comfortable with the pace, then he got stronger. So then it makes his moves like sharper. Where he knows where to go. He knows what to do. To a point where he could like move them off him, and like he got used to like how the flow of the game is.
system of moves that he was using was pretty much the same. Again, it's him leveraging that driving threat to pull the defense off balance, to then bump and separate. But that improved strength gave him more avenues to create and make tough shots. Even if he gathered with his feet all out of whack, he can still find his base as he elevates. He's sizing up Mike Conley here, and as he attacks to his left and gets into his body, look how his hips are pretty much squared up with the sideline as he picks up. But he's able to turn and get himself angled to the rim as he elevates. And that improved strength also allowed SGA to carve right through the defense, where he could just drive through their shoulders to open up their stance. Look how he's going to load up off that back foot, and literally drive right into this defender's chest, and he throws him off balance to then separate with a step back. And that stability feeds into every part of his game. When he slams the brakes to separate, he's more on balance. Plus him being more stable with the ball makes it easier to read the defense and throw out different counters. Durant perfectly defends his first drive, but Shai's just going to take a dribble and bound out to his right.
Trying to create space.
So that's how Shai turned himself into one of the best paint and mid-range scorers across the...
Sometimes when he do it low, like right there, he pushed off a little bit. Like sometimes when he does that shot, he push off. So and the refs don't call it. That's
the NBA. And for a league that's been emphasizing three-point shooting since his rookie year, it's pretty cool how one of the top scorers in the NBA is doing his damage mostly from below the arc. Now, when extending out even further and looking at Shai's three-point shooting, this has never been his main calling card, but the improvements that he's made over the past 7 years are still worth talking about. First, with the Clippers, he had a really heavy-footed set shot, where he got little to no lift off the floor, while having a long load-up from his pickup to his release. And because of those sluggish mechanics, Shai was attempting...
You could also notice that with his mid-range shot, like from his rookie year to now, like he just flows with it now.
Under 2 outside looks per game, and pretty much all of them were wide open,
comes all quicker,
spot up threes. But the thing was, despite that low volume, he was still pretty accurate, shooting over 36%. So the foundation was kind of there.
Gilgeous-Alexander.
Now, when jumping ahead to Shai's 3rd and 4th season, this is where we see a big jump in that three-point volume. The first thing that stands out is that Shai was getting a lot more pop off the floor, while having a more fluid transition from his pickup into his release. Both of those improvements gave Shai the tools to more effectively elevate off a live dribble. In pick and roll, if the big is sitting back in a deep drop, that's going to be a routine one dribble pull-up. And this was also the time where Shai was developing his go-to left-hand pound dribble step back, where he brings that right foot up and pounds the ball and pushes off it to separate behind the line. And Shai could also separate going to his strong right hand. The footwork here is pretty advanced, where he's going to turn the corner off the screen, and look how he's now going to separate off that left foot, to then tap dance behind the line and rise up for an on-balance jumper. So over the span of just 2 years, Shai's improvements from behind the line were night and day. He went from being a standstill spot-up shooter to developing the footwork and elevation to effectively...
One thing I would say though, like him and Ant, they've improved to become superstars since their rookie year, to then their second year, to now. Like they've improved, like where they needed to improve at. Ant he still need to improve. Shai still need to improve on some stuff, but it's like they're improving every single year. They're getting better.
Create shots of a live dribble. For typical players, it normally takes about 4 to 5 years to have this kind of growth. Now, despite the improvement with the footwork and elevation, Shai still had a pretty low release point into his jumper, where the ball was being let go at around shoulder level. And this naturally made it easier for the defense to get a hand up in that shooting window, and sometimes get a hand on the ball.
Up the cell, has that step back, and he was...
So even with Shai having the tools to create separation, he often had to rush and squeeze these looks through. And in his 4th season, despite him generating more outside looks, the efficiency was lagging behind. And then in the following 2 years, that three-point volume did go back down. But at the same time, him taking less threes obviously wasn't a big deal. The mid-range, rim pressure, and free throw volume was still enough for him to average over 30 points per game. But when jumping ahead to the 2025 season, this is where I think Shai had his biggest jump as a three-point shooter. First, the volume jumped up to over 5.5 attempts per game, and for the most part, that's maintained so far this season. And all the things that Shai got better at in years 3 and 4 are even more amplified here. Off the bounce, he's getting into his shot much more quickly, while adding even more elevation off the floor. But one big difference that we saw last year was that Shai actually got his set point higher, where instead of releasing the ball at shoulder level, he was getting it pretty well above his head. And this allows him to get shots off without creating a ton of separation. This right here is just a left to right between, and from the fluid transition from his pickup to his set point, to the elevation off the floor and higher release, that's going to be a real tough shot to alter. And again, this year, Shai is shooting over 43% from 3 with over 5 attempts per game. The volume may not be as high as other players, but because he's obviously a really well-rounded scorer, 5 attempts per game for him is perfect. That's more than enough to keep the defense honest, and it also doesn't take away from his paint and mid-range game.
Minute to go. Gilgeous-Alexander.
So right now, as a 3-level scorer, I think Shai could be on his way to being one of the best of all time. This is his 4th consecutive year averaging over 30 points per game, and he's still just 27. And that scoring production has also carried over to the playoffs. And everything for him just came down to improvements every single year. Going back to his rookie year, I don't think anybody saw him being literally an all-time great scorer. But again, he found ways to steadily get better. And steady improvement along with talent can go a very long way.
Hey man, say man. These boys, hey, they're improving every year. Him and they going crazy. They going to be those guys for sure. Like top 10. Like for sure. They going to be up there. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. Comment down below some videos and also what y'all think. Join the Discord, link in the description and bio. But yeah, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm out.